In part 3 of our latest hotline documentary titled A Nation That Begs. We tell you the story of how Ghana is now being tagged globally for being a begging nation, begging from Eurobond being the darling boy of the Eurobond to, a debt relief seeker from the IMF. That's the story of the country, as we call it, in our latest A Nation That Begs.
In 2022, Ghana faced economic challenges as emerging markets experienced soaring coupon rates for bonds, rendering them exorbitant. Consequently, only 3 countries, Nigeria, South Africa, and Angola, managed to issue Eurobonds in the first half of the year. Other nations, including Kenya and Ghana, were priced out of the international capital markets due to unsustainable interest rates.
When we started getting the downgrades and others, that we better fix it because the domestic market was just too shallow.
It was quite clear that we're in too deep and we're in above our heads. And so once the rating downgrade came, that sealed our fate. We could no longer go back to the international capital markets to borrow, at least not on the Eurobond market, until we address issues of debt sustainability.
You are mindful about the cost of accessing capital from the markets. Okay, and especially when your rating has gone down the way it is, we are almost in a junk territory, right? So one basic understanding of the market is that when you come onto the market unattractive, you'll be punished.
For Ghana, the burden of debt servicing obligations, limited to interest payments only, was projected to reach approximately $5 billion at both domestic and external levels in 2023. Unlike its 16th enrollment in 2015, Ghana's unsustainable debt position was certainly a huge obstacle in obtaining an IMF deal. This meant a lot of conditions had to be met. The IMF's message to Ghana was very simple: restructure your debt or no bailout package.
I also want to assure all Ghanaians that no individual or institutional investor, including pension funds, in government treasury bills or instruments, will lose their money as a result of our ongoing IMF negotiations. There will be no haircuts. So I urge all of you to ignore the false rumors.
Instantly, the market knew the president wasn't speaking the truth. You see that right after the president made a statement, the reactions were more or less to reject the statements. And therefore, my expectation is that any investor who probably took a decision on the back of that wasn't an investor, was probably a lotto doctor.
And of course, Isaac Kofiachi, who's behind that work, is joining us in studio now on what to expect at 5:30 p.m. when all of that airs. And Isaac, the point about why we're consistent on a nation that begs, it's almost descriptive of the situation that our economy is facing now.
Absolutely. So this is a 3-part series. We brought you the first part called The Genesis, how Ghana became, got unbridled borrowing, assets behavior, and then all of a sudden realized that our debt levels are unsustainable. Then we had the second part, which was from hero to zero. And the third part is, a trailblazer in global begging. Mm-hmm. A trailblazer in global begging because we are focusing on the Eurobond market, right, where substantial amount of our external debt is coming from. We owe the Eurobond market about $14 billion that currently we are asking these commercial creditors to take haircuts of up to 40% in terms of the principal, and then also up to 5% in terms of the interest. So this evening at 5:30, we are tracking how government or how Ghana made its debut in the Eurobond market in 2007, when late former Finance Minister Kojo Banredu left to London, came back with $750 million and several firsts. We became the first sub-Saharan African country to issue a 0% coupon tranche. And then also we went in between 2013 and 2016, Setekpe was there. And then also the current government under the watch of the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, where we borrowed close to $11 billion. So we are tracking all of this unbridled borrowing, and we are telling you how Ghana was hailed as the darling boy in the Eurobond market, and all of a sudden we've been thrown out of that market because we were in too deep, according to Bright Simmons. And you can't be in the capital market if you don't have a mechanism for repayment.
And what's bringing up the importance once more of this conversation is because of where we are now, failed timelines for even the IMF second tranche.
Yeah. So if you look at it, we've actually had to restructure our meetings with the executive board for about, at least I think there's a third time or so, fourth time, and this is all because we've not been able to get the necessary financing assurance to be able to trigger the release of the second tranche of the IMF money, which is 600 million. We were in this with Zambia. They are facing the same problems. But countries that are not doing restructuring, like our neighbors, Ivory Coast, they got their first review around the same time we also had our staff first review, and they've been able to go ahead to withdraw their second tranche. We have not been able to do it because the condition that we need to meet, the financing assurance to trigger that 600 million, we've not been able to meet it. We understand there's a problem at both the commercial side, in terms of the Eurobond side, and then also the bilateral. Mind you that the Eurobonds that we are talking about, the first people who bought these Eurobonds are not the current holders or the original holders have actually offloaded the bonds.
I see.
And you find these bonds in the hands of people or investors who are willing to take the risk. So you are asking these people to take a haircut of 40%. They are willing to hold on to the bonds the longest that they can, because they know the more they hold on to the bonds, the more they are able to get monies from you. And so we asked another very simple question. Do we really have a game plan in this whole debt restructuring, or we just want assurances for us to get the IMF monies released?
Okay.
That's not one question that we probably have to ask ourselves in this external debt restructuring.
Kofi, thank you. 5:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel. You have more details coming your way. Suspend the lithium lease agreement. That is the appeal of the Dormaahene Osajifo Osadeyo Ajiman Bedu II and the Bono Regional House of Chiefs urging the government of Ghana to pay heed to the experts and influential organizations on this mining deal that Ghana holds 13% shares. Speaking at the end of year review meeting, the chief also announced the decision of some chiefs to cut ties with the Brekum Traditional Council after what he describes as unfair treatment during the funeral of the late Brekum chief. Precious Semevo has the rest of the story.
In his remarks at the 2023 end-of-year review meeting of the Bono Regional House of Chiefs, the president of the House, Osajifo Osadeyo Ajiman Bedu II, commended the government for the progress of the Sunyani Airport and the upgrade of the regional hospital to a teaching hospital, but called for the needed support for their growth. He expressed concern about the deplorable roads in the region and appealed for speedy action to fix them. Dormaahene also voiced the concern of the House about how national security operatives aided one faction against another to install a chief at Sampa, a situation that has allegedly created confusion and fear in the area. He, however, announced the decision of some chiefs to cut ties with the Brekum Traditional Council after what he described as unfairly restricting them from attending the funeral of the late Brekum chief, Nana Mankuna Diewo, a member of the House until his death.
Ahemfo mako ye yenson wo Bono Regional. Nana Dormaahene, Nana Nsoko-hene, Nana Dwenim-hene, Nana Wanchi-hene, Nana Kwatwoma-hene, Nana Suma-hene, Domaka ho ye yenson. Ani abonofo no a bebeje atum no. Ya ye se free samre ko ye ni Brekum. Ye to nkwanta ya de apai. E wo fia nhihye ho. Kosi se bebe fa kwan papa so abeka bibi a kire. Because any dear council say ura kra ba yi a eno nje se bi mabi na nka sa platform yi kra ye kwa ene sabi otumfo asante hene oti na dwam se asantefo bewura nka ngojan anaso asamka oba ene meso ngodoma nkro na ne mamamfo ye kokoduru won tam ne tewa nti obakasa nka o magiaye se ye mu bi abakwasem kra ye kantiase anya adwuma nka Brekumfo na sese nka benya opportunity a beka sa adehye mienu bom so wahu me beka koye ye abonofo no ye mu bi ye hu se ade abedi ye na ntwa yie nti ya de ya atwe ye ho brekum fo be nya be bia benye any problem.
He appealed to the government to heed to calls of experts and civil society groups to suspend the lithium lease agreement with Lithium Atlantic over the contract terms.
Because Baba Kasa home near Marcasiano, the were basic argument and an ordinary. Now, media cry and cry agreement and members of Bassan. But to talk us on the say agreement and Casa Lithium, Guania Doma Benfiedunu. Lithium and a good year be a Behunus area and a better. Sani Panadium and Utimia, yo, Ntica Lithium, Bronin no Bassan's agreement now will be. The bedroom have been a Lusukon. Nana am dancing and another so by sorry or Sabentiasia. Young Casa Bentu Adiano. No more Anya she Unipano. Brabetu yamfa who de two my wo yan wonche and I know better crying in 50-50 nti ye wura no benhwe ne ye ma ben koye lithium agreement bia ebasa emfa asundwe ma.
Bono Regional Minister Justina Dormaahene assured the chiefs of more collaboration that will inure to the benefit of the region. Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyai.